Good evening, welcome to another Artful Coder video in the SSRS series. Tonight I'm going to show you how to install the server side of SSRS. So what does this mean? So far in our previous videos we've could create reports within Visual Studio, but if you wanted to host them online somewhere or want to put it on a server, then this video will talk you through that. So what you want to do is go to Google, type SSRS download 2022, and it should be the first link, which is Microsoft SQL Server Reporting Services 2022. So let's download that. So it's going to take some time, so I'll pause the video and we'll be back shortly. Thanks. Right, our file is finished downloading. So this is what you'll get: SQL Server Reporting Services. Click it, and we say Developer. Click Next. The reason so you'll be asked to choose which SQL Server you've got. So this depends on if you've got an evaluation, express, or developer, or you've actually got a proper SQL Server, which will come up. So in this case, I've got the developer edition. Now the developer edition of SQL Server is a fully fledged version of SQL Server, but with the caveat you can play about with it, but you cannot use it in production. So we've installed that, and what we'll just do as well is we'll launch SSRS, so then we can see various bits and pieces going on. So it's just going to launch now. While that's launching is we'll click next. Obviously read that if you want to, click next. And okay. Okay, so we've got, you need a SQL Server instance. So obviously if we've got one with this here, so click next. It will then ask you where you want to install the program files. Click okay, that should do it. So it's just going to do that quickly. So what we'll end up doing is creating a database in here for SQL Server reporting services, and then you've got a button configure report service, and you'll get a window from which you won't see. So it's already chosen our server name. So what is the instance going to be called? SSRS Connect. So let's do service account. You don't need to necessarily change this, but you can do. Web service URL report server, that's fine. Database, change database. So we now need to create a brand new report server database. Now, reports on SSRS, so all of your report files when you deploy them to the server, any configuration settings, any security permissions are stored within this database. Now, I have had to migrate from a live environment with SSRS installed to a dev one, and there's a few steps you have to go through to do that, but we won't cover that in this video. So if we click create new report server database, you can by always choose an existing one if you already have one, but we'll do a new one. So that's the server. We're using integrated security. It's yeah. Next. And what do you want the database to be called? Now, when you can give this any name you want, but we'll leave as it is so we know what it is. And you've got the temp database. So when you install SSRS, it creates a main database and a temporary database. And both of those, if you migrate from a different from one server to another, will need to be copied across. Click next. Yep, we'll just use service credentials. Click next. It's going to create the database. And this may take some time, so what I'll do is just pause the video while it's finishing off. Okay, our installation is now complete. Let's click finish. It starts in the report server. Okay, so let's look at web portal URL. Okay, so web service URL. Okay, yep, that's fine. Let's use a different port because I've got IIS running, we'll put it on 8080. Say it has to confirm the changes and do web portal URL. Okay, we've done that. Advanced. Okay, so we've got that set up. Let's just apply that. Let's just do that because it's maybe what it's kind of. Yep, it's creating a virtual directory. Okay, so it's done it. So if we go to database now, we'll just check that, web services URL. You can see now that we've got that there. So that's right. So let's go back to web service URL. Let's go on port 80. It ignore that port change. So this is /reports. Email settings, we don't need to worry about. You can use email if you wish to. Execution account, you can change that. And when you're migrating from one server to another, you'll need to back up your keys because when you restore, you need the keys and then you'll need to do some extra bits. So let's do exit. That's set up. So if we go to here, http kev/reports, and let's see what we get. Okay, connection refused. Interesting. So what we've got now is if we refresh our databases up here, we've now got another database, which is fantastic. So that's configured. So let's just, oh, it's trying to do it on secure connection. Okay, nothing in there. So this hasn't found anything at the moment. So if we go to report server, okay, it's not liking that. Let's just check that again. So if we go to, at any point you can change this. Let's just go to configure. Let's just do connect. Web portal URL is, let's just retry that again. So let's just check this, do http kev 80/reports. Nothing there. So let's try and debug that. Let's just call this reports 1. I think I know what it is because it's running. IIS is running. Let's just stop IIS and see. Okay, so it's saying, so let's just go to services. Let's go to IIS and we'll just see what happens. I think it's basically trying to do that. So stop. Okay, so the server's stopped now. Let's see what we get. Okay. HTTP. Let's have a look. Escape. Don't want to do that. Kev/reports 1. There you go. So effectively it's a conflict import with IIS. You can change this here and we'll just do it as reports. We'll put it back to reports. We don't need IIS running at the moment. So let's just apply that, stopping that. So we have effectively set up SQL Server reporting services. Now, this is where we will need to open our Visual Studio project. We'll see if we can actually push a basic report to it. So let's go to 2022. We've already got a reporting solution ready, so we're going to see if we can actually push some reports to it. Okay, I do apologise while this is loaded up on such a large window. So what you need to do is right click and go to properties, I think it is. Yep, so if we choose it to release, and it's going to be local server report server, this will need to match here. So what that's saying is that's going to say take up the server, use like a service call. It says go to SSRS and publish the reports. So you've got a couple of options. Do you want to overwrite the data sets? Yes, because they may change. Overwrite data sources? No, because in a production environment you want to push the data sets up, but you don't want to change the connections once you set them up. And data sets, and there's report folder. So what I will tell you now is you may get problems if you have another project with the same report folder, so you may need to review that. So let's just do OK. Click OK there. Change this to release and do deploy. Okay, it's thinking about it. Let's see if it actually builds the reports up. Let's give it a go. Okay, so it's building all my reports. It's starting. So we'll wait a minute. We'll give it a second. Give it a second. Okay, I'll just pause the video while it's doing that and we'll come back when we're good to go, when it's getting... Oh, hang on, it's got there. So look, you can see in here it's deploying all the reports to our server. So anything you can see within here with your parameters, it does all of that. So now, if we refresh this, oh, it's reports, I changed it back. We should now have, it's going to take the very first load of SSRS or SQL Server Reporting Services takes a bit of time. So these are your data sources which you can change, you can configure at any point. You can do manage, that allows you to change your credentials, etc., and things like that. In here you've got your data sets, and now just this is what I was trying to explain about keep them names consistent, because you may have lots of report folders on the server and you may accidentally overwrite data sets if you give them all the same names. So it's probably good to prefix with your project name, and off you go. So if we go out to browse, let's go look at some reports. Let's do machine data. So this is now going to run the actual report. It takes again a few seconds the first time you go into one, but what we should see, you can always see our parameters load up here with that. There you go. So then what we can say is we're only interested in the trends. Click that and then click your view report. It'll go off and refresh it. There you go. So that is how you set up the server side. Again, if you're running IIS, just remember to check your ports and things like that, because they will conflict with each other. So I did try playing about with the port, but it wasn't quite liking it. So I think there may be some other things we can do. Oh, you can bind it to a different port. So that's how you can do it in there. You can change it. So if we said, let's just cancel that and get a web service account and just change this to 8080, apply, and let's see if it actually does it. And then we should be able to IS. Okay, no, oh, it's removing it. Okay, so it's done that. If we go to web portal now, so if we go to there and do advanced, and if we just do edit, we'll change that to 8080. Okay, okay. That's going to do a few bits and pieces there. So it's doing it. So what that means, if we start IIS back up, and I mean, you could use any port you want to, it could be 2000, 3000, doesn't really matter, as long as it doesn't conflict with outs on the system. Okay, so exit. So what it should mean now is if we just, whenever you're doing a different port, go to your website address, put a colon 8080. There you go. That should still load our report, nothing else has changed. Give it a second. It's just rebinding, it's just doing all its bits again, so it'll load it back up. Let's see what happens. First time you do this again, it may take a second just to load up. It's just the way SSRS, it's same in production environments. You could write something to wake it up after so long and do all of that. There you go. So now it's loaded our report. It's working on port 8080. So what it means now with IIS, if we do start, the server started. If we just refresh that, there you go. That's IIS running alongside SSRS on a different port. So this is good. And again, you could bind it on a website address. It's not entirely to you, so just run that again to show you what's going on. And it is literally, there you go. So we've now got IIS and SQL Server reporting services and the other report we've got. So thank you so much for watching this video. Excuse me. I hope you've really enjoyed it and look for more videos to come. Thank you.